Rulka is the only food item that I've ever seen Russians get genuinely excited about. Even the finest steak smothered in black truffles will be met with a decidedly disinterested gaze because it's in the culture of Russians to not get excited about food. But bring out a freshly roasted rulka to the table and there will be oohs and ahs. Rulka, rulka! Now, you have to understand this is considered a man's dish. It's not something women will get excited about. It's regarded as the king of beer snacks, which are their own separate category of food in Russia. And although it is in that beer snack category, rulka is also enjoyed with vodka, or better still, cognac, as the beverage of choice, especially in the past when Russians drank more hard liquor. Rulka can come from a pig or a lamb, and it can be either the front or the back legs, knuckle or joint, as shown here, but we need the back leg for this, which is also sometimes called a ham hock in the United States, but then you need the full piece of meat, not just the knuckle itself, of course. And often if you order a ham hock in the US, it'll come smoked and it'll just be a tiny little knuckle, won't have enough meat on it. The first step is to get our flavoring solution for the rulka together. I'm using this Russian beer that's called Red Fox Hunter. It's similar to Killian's Red, but yeah, you can use any beer you want. I got a head of garlic, big onion, some whole cloves, black peppercorns, and smoked paprika from Spain. Okay, get some oil. You're going to need enough oil here, basically to cover the bottom of the pan. That's all. And I've taken the onions and just slice them. The pan's getting hot, but just going to lay them down so they have maximum surface contact area with the pan. After just a couple of minutes here, we're going to add paprika to this, the smoked paprika or pimenton, and this is really a lot. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons, a lot of pimenton. That's the nature of this whole dish. Of course, we could do more than one rulka at a time if we wanted to. I'm also adding the bay leaves that are crumpled up, and I'm taking that head of garlic and just splitting it in half like this, and I'm going to add it in there. You don't need to peel it; it won't make any difference. In the end, we're going to pull this apart anyway. And we're going to stir this around a little bit, get it started cooking. We've also got black peppercorns to add and the cloves. About a teaspoon of each. And as this cooks slowly, look at the heat's on 5. We're not really massacring it here. We just want to help this paprika release its flavors. And I'm going to add that 35 grams of salt. This will help soften the onions up. Just going to keep cooking it for another couple minutes. And this is looking good. This is the rulka. This is a nice big one. This is about 2 1/3 kilos. I'm going to put that in, and I'm going to add the beer next. I'm also going to throw in a couple of sprigs of celery. You don't have to do this, but I don't know, we always did in the restaurant, so it seemed to come out quite good then, so that's what we'll do. And enough water to cover the rulka. And then finally I'm going to add a couple of tablespoons of sugar. I'm going to put a lid on this, bring it up to a simmer, and let it start cooking for a couple hours. Okay, I just want to show you this stage of simmering that we're looking for here. We've got little bubbles coming up, little tiny bubbles. Can you see that? That's what we want. We do not want a rapid boil on this, because otherwise you'll separate the skin of the fat and you'll start rendering them. We're not looking to do that. We want to infuse flavors into the meat. The whole purpose of this stage is just to get some flavor into there. It's been just over 2 hours now. quarter hour, something like that. I'm going to take the lid off. I'm turning the heat off completely. I'm going to let this cool down a little bit in this broth. I'll remove it in just a little bit more, but I'm just going to let it cool down towards room temperature a little bit now. And here's the rulka. Here's the rulka out of the broth after a couple hours, nicely flavored. The broth itself is going to have to be part of it's going to have to be poured off and sieved in order to use to make the glaze. Pour it through into a fat separating pitcher, then we're going to remove the fat. Okay, this has been sitting in the refrigerator more than overnight. It's been sitting in there for about 12 hours now, and I'm going to make some very light cuts along here. Not enough to pierce the skin, just enough to put little indentations in it. You have to be careful here because if we cut it too much, it will split. If you don't cut it at all, it won't be really crispy when you're done. So you have to practice this a little bit. Don't make deep gouges in it, or it'll pull away from the meat. But you can make like light cuts like this in it. Obviously, it's a very sharp knife. Once you've done that, sprinkle some salt on it, rub the salt in. That's going to be perfect. I'm using fine grained salt here. This will also help pull out some moisture. Just massage the salt into the surface, just a little extra precaution. Okay, and it's ready to go into the oven. You can use a metal or a ceramic dish. Here's the last. 200 milliliters is going to go into the bottom of this to keep it from drying out. Now if this starts to evaporate, which it will during the long cooking process, then you can just add water to this, but this will keep a flavored solution in there. Now pop this in the oven. Here's what it's looking like after 2 hours. It's not crispy yet when you touch it. It's got a little bit of crackling going on around the edges there, but obviously it needs more. I've added some more water around the edges, and it's going to go back in the oven now. Now we're 3 hours into the cooking, and we go for the first coating, the outside basting really. This is just to make sure that we get it really crispy. We're going to start flavoring it just a little bit longer. This is 3 hours. It's already pretty crispy around the edges. Want to get some of that fat back over the top so that it kind of deep fries in its own fat that's ran off. Now it's been another 30 minutes, and you want to check here before you proceed. Touch it. You hear that crisp crackling sound? Then you're okay. If you don't hear that, it's not done. It's got to go back. Begin by assembling the ingredients. I've got red onion, garlic, red bell pepper, some lemon for the juice, some whole cloves, and a spice paste. But it's more than just hot. It has very delicate and subtle flavors. You can substitute something like a Korean hot red bean paste, but it won't be the same. You really need to try to find a Jiko to make this. A hot pan with some vegetable oil in it. And start cooking the red onion and red bell pepper just to soften them. They won't soften. If you just try boiling them with the tomato sauce, they won't get soft. They won't lose their flavor. You have to start them out with high heat like this. After about 5 minutes, you can see you get some color on these vegetables, and they've definitely limper anyway. Now we're going to add garlic, the tomato sauce, about a teaspoon of cloves, and a couple more, and this beer. And turning the heat down to about 4. Just going to let this simmer for a little bit. Been 5 more minutes. I'm going to add the sugar to this, the lemon juice, and a big dollop of that tajik, a healthy tablespoon. Stir it around and let it continue to simmer here for a little bit. We want those vegetables to soften more before we strain it off. And further help it along, we're going to hit it with a stick blender here. Some splattering, so I'm going to partially cover it here and let it cook on a slow simmer for about 15 minutes. And then after it's cooled off a little bit, after the 15 minutes of simmering, I'm just going to begin getting it to go through the sieve by rubbing it. And here we have the sauce finally now for the rulka. This is a very interesting, it's not a barbecue sauce. It's really like nothing else you've ever tasted before. It's more reminiscent of a barbecue sauce than anything else, but it's not a barbecue sauce, and it goes spectacularly well with the crisp pork cracklings of that rulka. Also look for my cocktail book, Cocktails of the South Pacific and Beyond, Advanced Mixology, available through Amazon online.